My name is Victoria. Welcome back to my channel. Today I brought back Julio because I wanted him to help me talk about my non-bookish wrap-up, which is something I want to start doing every month on my channel. In addition to a separate video about books I read, I'm also going to do a video about just other media we also consumed. And since I consume most of that media with him, he's going to help me talk about it. So first, let's talk about the movies that we watched. We watched pretty much only movies from Disney Plus. And I don't know if that was because COVID-19 happened and we just wanted to be happy and not think about anything serious, but that's what happened. So we have a host of Disney movies, solely Disney movies to talk about. The first one was Robin Hood, which neither of us had watched, I think, since we were kids. And Robin Hood was really good. I wasn't sure how it held up to modern times, but it holds up really well. The music is really fun, and it's got like this like country music vibe throughout the whole thing, which was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. I think we'll go ahead and give it, you want to give it a rating out of 10? I would give Robin Hood 8.
Are we giving each of these a rating out of 10?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, sure.
I would give Robin Hood 8 out of 10. What would you give it?
Ooh, I would give Robin Hood, I think that's a fair assessment, an 8. I thought the music was really great. A lot of what I remember from watching Robin Hood as a child were the songs, particularly the one with the rooster at the beginning. So, yeah, I would give it a solid 8 for being able to stand up to the test of time, and it was a very enjoyable movie to watch. All
right, next we watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He had seen this one. I had never seen it before, so it was pretty wild and out there.
But I had warned you that it was going to be such.
Yeah, it's a weird movie. And he told me, he was like, this is going to be kind of off the wall, so I don't know if you're going to like it. I didn't. I didn't like it. It's not only just, like, I can handle weird, but it's also crude and kind of crass. So yeah. I didn't like that part of it. It was just not quite wholesome, like a Disney movie usually is.
Especially after the other movies that we had seen.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a little bit jarring. It was definitely an interesting movie, and I can see how it would have been really successful when it came out because it was so different and like kind of pushing the boundaries of film and like the merging of cartoon and live action was really interesting to think about. But I wouldn't rewatch the movie. I would give it a 5 out of 10. I didn't like it.
So I did watch this film many years ago when I was in college, and I think rewatching it now recently made me realize that it wasn't as good as I had initially thought. I did know that it was very bizarre and silly and off the wall, but I think the crude factor definitely stood out a lot more. I did a little bit of research into the film and why it was important, and also why it did really well and why it stood up to be such a cult classic for many people still. And a lot of that was that the Disney Buena Vista Pictures was actually not doing very well. And this film kind of helped bring them out from the possibility of even going bankrupt. So I appreciated it for what it needed to do in order to capture audiences, especially perhaps audiences that would pay to go to the box office to watch something like this. But it did cut quite too far from what Disney is known for in the wholesome movies.
I guess it wasn't a Disney movie then when it started.
It was
just on Disney Plus.
Well, no, it actually is produced by Buena Vista Pictures, which is a subsidiary of Disney.
Associated with Disney.
Yeah, so it was put together with money from Disney and producers from Disney.
So what's your rating?
My rating, I would give it a 6 because of its historic significance, but not necessarily on content.
Okay. Would you rewatch it?
No.
Yeah. So we're about on the same page with that one. Next movie we watched was The Computer Who Wore Tennis Shoes. And this is an old, 60s movie?
Yeah. Kurt Russell back in like 1962.
A very young Kurt Russell.
Yeah. Was it 62? I don't know. Maybe we could look that up.
Or
you guys could look that up.
I want to say it was the 60s, but this one was okay. it is about a boy who kind of experiences like an electric shock of sorts and gets a computer written into his brain. So then he's like super smart, which I feel like is a story that's been done now many times in different ways. And so I don't know if this was like an original concept of this movie at the time, but I just feel like it's a story I've seen before. And right, like what other movies am I thinking?
People that have been taken over by something is
Yeah.
a theme that you see over and over again in superhero movies. So people that have been taken over by an entity that makes them look like a spider or makes them look like something that they touched. Or so this was the same concept. A boy gets electrocuted and then has all of the knowledge that a computer can bestow.
Mm-hmm. This one surprised me because I expected to kind of laugh at it because of like the silliness and how outdated it was, which I did in moments, but actually I found it surprisingly a bit dull and boring and kind of slow paced, which I wasn't expecting. I would give this one a 6 out of 10.
Whew. Because I gave Roger Rabbit a 6, and I'm keeping, I want to make sure that I stay within the rubric that I'm setting that's completely arbitrary.
The made-up rubric that we just decided right now.
I don't think it's as bad as I thought Roger Rabbit was.
No, it's not as bad.
So I would give it a 7.
Okay.
Maybe a 6.5, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
I would not watch it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch it again. It doesn't have good rewatch value at all. Frozen. We revisited Frozen. I think you had seen most of it. You weren't sure if you'd seen it all.
I had seen most of it, probably 2/3 of it.
Okay. So I'm not sure if Julio had seen it before completely, but I had. And I just, the only thing I remembered about Frozen was that it was super overhyped when it came out, in my opinion. I was really tired of hearing the songs. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing the songs. And to me, that kind of turned me off to the whole franchise. So for a long time, I just was like, Frozen's terrible. I don't like Frozen. But then rewatching it a bit later, it actually is. It's a very cute movie. It's very sweet. And I still don't love the music. But I think the movie itself has a lot of merit. And I can see why it's so popular. So I would give Frozen, as a Disney movie, an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it an 8 as well. And particularly because, so having the opportunity to rewatch it again, a little bit separated from a lot of the personal bias that I had because it was way overrated, and I think still is. But I would rewatch it, not on my own, perhaps with a niece or a nephew or a godchild or our own children. I'd sit down and watch it again.
It has merit.
Yeah, and it's definitely got some comedy, and the characters are lovable. So
Olaf is the best.
It does have some weirdness with the trolls, but I'm willing to forgive it. I'll give it an 8.
I could do without the trolls.
Yeah.
Frozen 2. We watched Frozen so that we could watch Frozen 2, and maybe an unpopular opinion, but I liked Frozen 2 more. I liked it better. I thought it was just everything was just like better. I thought the music was better. The storyline was okay. I wasn't like blown away by the storyline, but the humor I thought was really on point. It had like an extra level of sparkliness that I think just put it above for me. And I loved the 80s throwback song that whatever that character's name is. What's his name? Hans? Lars? I don't know. You know the one.
Hans?
The blonde Hans? But he has this great like 80s montage moment, and it made the movie for me. It was amazing. So I would say Frozen 2, that's a solid 9. That's a 9 out of 10. I liked it.
Yeah, I would agree that I enjoyed Frozen 2 a little bit more. I think the story was original. I think that I really enjoyed the way that they purposely made fun of a genre like the 80s montage with that character. I don't know what his name is, but you guys know who we're talking about. So I thoroughly enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the humor. And I also think that it had something to say as well. It had some social commentary about how Indigenous people are treated. And
Yeah.
I think that they did a good job. There's a bad way to do that, and I think this was
They did it
subtle, but still making a point. So I would give it an 8.5.
8.5. Okay. Not going for that 9, huh?
No.
Not quite a 9. Fair enough. Next we watched an oldie. We watched Sword in the Stone. And I definitely enjoyed this one. I remembered watching it as a kid, but didn't remember a lot of details. There's definitely a lot of beautiful art in it. I thought the animation is really special and unique, and I thought it was really good. The whole sequence of of when they turn into fish was like one of my favorite parts of the movie. I thought that was a lot of fun, and when they turn into squirrels, even though that was kind of sad, but we won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. I liked it. It's not my favorite old Disney movie. I found the story, again, a lot of the older ones, I feel like the story just slower, and I think that's a product of its time. I think we're used to now to like more fast moving plots. And I think just back in the day, they just took their time with things more, which is not a bad thing. But for my short attention span, I sometimes lost attention a little bit. But I think it's a beautiful movie, very well done, very nostalgic for me while I was watching it. So I want to give it an 8. It's an 8 out of 10 for me.
And I really like that you said that it encompassed part of what makes those movies good in that era, is that people took their time with that. I think that's part of the reason why Pixar does so well with their movies, is they genuinely take their time with it. They don't release something that they have been working on less than a year. A lot of their movies take multiple years to create, and I think that it's definitely a testament to the attention to detail that they have. So this is part of a bygone era, I think. There are very few people and few production companies that are still doing that. The rating that I would give it is based off of, it's part of something that took a while and they enjoyed putting it together, you could tell. However, the story was a bit weird and it didn't have a point. It was just kind of a telling of a magical happenstance, really. It didn't have a drive or a plot that was leading towards the end, except for the last like 20 minutes of it. That's the only place where you have a sense of direction.
Yeah, I feel like the plot kind of wanders around.
Yeah, but I would give it an 8 because it's still a classic. It's very well done, but it just wasn't as exciting. It was just a telling of a story.
Yeah, agree. Next up, we also watched an old one, Pinocchio. And I hadn't seen this since I was a kid, for sure. I did remember the story. I did watch this one a lot as a kid, so it was really, very familiar to me. And I actually really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Pinocchio was one of those that wasn't my favorite as a kid. I think my little brother used to like it a lot, so we would watch it a lot. But I remember it not being my favorite as a kid. Upon rewatching it as an adult, again, struck by the animation and how beautiful it is, and just like all the detail, especially the opening scene, and they have all the clocks. I remember that was always one of my favorite part, and all the clocks are like coming out and like doing different things, the cuckoo clocks. Again, the attention to detail in the animation is something that, is sadly a little bit lost now, because now where everything's digital. So I just really enjoyed seeing hand-drawn beauty like that. And then the story of Pinocchio I remember it being weird and having like weird moments, but it wasn't as weird as I remember. Like, it does make sense. The story does make sense for the most part. So I'm gonna give Pinocchio an 8.5.
I'm gonna give it an 8.5 as well.
You're just copying me.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to stay within what relative scores I gave to the other ones.
We have similar tastes.
You know what? I had initially thought that I was going to give this a 9. Maybe an 8.75. And the reason for that is that I actually really enjoyed it. And I liked that this definitely had a story to it. It had a lesson as well. And it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful movie. It's really well illustrated. Some of the scenes are absolutely beautiful, especially at the end. How they leave you with the lookout over the Alpine village where it takes place. So this is an Italian story, but it takes place in northern Italy, which is really close to Germany, which is where you see part of that.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out. We're like,
yeah.
why is everyone wearing
why
like
is
German
Pinocchio
clothing?
wearing lederhosen and he's
now it makes
supposed to
sense.
be an Italian character named Pinocchio, right? And Geppetto. These are all Italian names.
Yeah, we were really confused at first.
So it's very far northern Italy, so in the Alpine villages, and so it's just gorgeous. The music is beautiful. I think it's also resonates from that era of people taking their time to construct and to produce, and definitely it's kind of it's a window into what was popular during the time, and I think it still holds up to the test of time.
Next up, I picked this one because Julio had never seen it. Oliver and Company. And I just adore Oliver and Company, and I already knew I was going to love this again because I watched it so much that I had a lot of the scenes like memorized. I knew what order things happened in, and Oliver and Company still holds up really strong. I would say it's one of the golden era cartoons from the 90s. Yes, 90s. I'm pretty sure. I think it's one of the best that came out of the Disney era of the 90s because it's also different and it's modern. So in the 90s, we do get a lot of like classic stories. The 80s and 90s gave us Beauty and the Beast and Hunchback of Notre Dame, and also gave us Oliver and Company, which Oliver and Company is very different than those, and it uses modern music. I think, who was it? Billy Joel? Billy Joel writes a lot of the music for Oliver and Company, and it's just a good time. It's fun. It's just a good time. The story is great. And then, you know, the kitty is so cute, and the doggies are so cute, and it's just so cute and fun, and the music was so much fun. I loved it, and I give it 10. It's 10 out of 10 for me. I love Oliver and Company.
I really enjoyed Oliver and Company. I, without shame, give it a 9, and not a 10 because I reserve a 10 for those very few special movies. This was just 100% fun. So everything from the music, and actually while we were starting to watch this, just that opening scene, I'm like, wow, the music is incredible. I wonder who put it together. Looked it up. Hey, it's Billy Joel, and he's also the voice of the main character. That's amazing. Totally makes sense. Yeah, it's got everything that you would want a 90s movie to have. It's all there. It's got the cliches. It's got the sayings. It's got Cheech Marin. It's amazing. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's a thoroughly fun movie to watch. If you've never seen it and you like all the 90s tropes, please give yourself a favor and watch Oliver and Company. You're going to thoroughly enjoy it.
Next up, I have a feeling we're going to have a little bit of an unpopular opinion of this one, but we watched the Newsies. Or Newsies. Just Newsies is what it's called. And if you don't know this one, it's a musical about paper boys, and there's basically like a union battle, and they form a union so that they can have fair wages and they're not exploited. And this one has we really actually wanted to watch it because it has a really young Christian Bale in it, and it has just an interesting cast, and seeing a young Christian Bale singing was very entertaining. It's very, very much in the style of, Oliver Twist. It reminded me of Oliver Twist. However, I didn't think the music held up really in the same, like, quality that Oliver Twist has, but it gave me Oliver Twist vibes. If a musical and I don't get along, it's because I didn't jive with the music. For whatever reason, I don't jive with the music in Newsies. I didn't come away like remembering the tunes. I didn't come away remembering the songs. So for me, it was okay. The story kind of lost me because I was also not enjoying the music and it wasn't grabbing me. So I think I was also like not paying attention super well while I was watching it. But Newsies was okay for me. I don't know. It's hard to rate this one because I know it's very... I'm not going to say it's not well done. I thought it was well done. I think it wasn't for me. I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I would not watch it again. And I gave Who Framed Roger Rabbit a 6. And Newsies, I think, deserves a little more than that one. So I would also give it a 6.5. And the reason for that is for a lot of things that Victoria already mentioned. The songs were okay. It just felt unoriginal. And it was very
from a musical
bland.
standpoint.
From a musical standpoint, from even the numbers, it's all what you would. I don't know. I'm not a huge musical theater fan
That's
as
also
it
true.
is.
I definitely
and
like
everything
musical
that
theater more than he does.
makes me dislike musical theater. I saw some glimpses of that in here, and I'm like, so I think it was just a little too cringy for me because of that. But Christian Bale, great performance from him. Great performance from the actors, but I just think it was a disservice to having to produce something that was just not really that exciting. The stakes were not high enough. The story that they were trying to build almost at times seemed kind of comical of the great lengths that they would go through of something that I don't think it was built up well enough. It was kind of a little disappointing. So yeah, I would give it a 6.5. I was kind of disappointed with it.
I feel so bad about that because I know a lot of people love Newsies. Like, I know people who are like, oh, you have to watch Newsies. So I'm like, I feel so bad that I didn't like it. I'm sad. I really wanted to like it. Apparently, we were on a musical thread because after that, we watched some more musicals. We watched The Sound of Music, which we've both seen and love. For me, this is like one of my top 5 movies made of all time. I just love everything about The Sound of Music. I love the production. I love the characters. I love the music. There's nothing bad about Sound of Music, really. There's just nothing bad about it. It's so good. 10 out of 10.
Wow, what a breath of fresh air after watching Newsies to watch The Sound of Music. Man, the romanticism is built up really well. It is also just being a romantic of that time era. I think that it makes you nostalgic of people being able to work for affection and just to see the transformation and the how the depth of character that some of these different characters develop throughout the movie is a breath of fresh air. That you really do see some character development in each one of the
kids,
children, each of the older characters. And also the story. I mean, wow. It's just, it was very, very well enjoyed. The music is awesome. Julie Andrews is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
The singing was great. And it just made you feel really good. So I would give that one a 10.
Yes.
A 10.
I'd be mad at you if you didn't give it a 10. Be like, we can't be friends anymore. Next we watched Mary Poppins after we watched Sound of Music. Not right after, but a couple of days later.
We saw some
Mary
Tiger
Poppins.
King episodes in between.
Well,
No,
we're not,
we didn't?
can't talk about Tiger King yet. That's for April. Ignore him.
We didn't finish it.
Mary Poppins was fantastic, of course. I enjoyed the new revamp movie more than I think some people did. I know it didn't get super good reviews. I thought the revamp movie was decent, and I enjoyed it. But then after watching the original, it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's why people didn't like the remake, because it doesn't hold up, and it's not really fair to compare them. I don't think you can, because it's just, they made movies differently back then. You know, it's just of a different era. There's so much humor in Mary Poppins. There's so many like classic iconic scenes. One of my favorite is the roof scene where they're all laughing and floating to the roof. That really, like, I had kind of forgotten about that scene, and then watching that scene, I was like cracking up with them. It was so funny. All their stupid bad jokes had me like rolling on the floor. I don't know why. But it was really good. I would say if I had to put like Sound of Music and Mary Poppins next to each other, I like Mary Poppins slightly less because I think there's a point that drags in Mary Poppins and that loses my attention a little bit. It's still a masterpiece of film. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 just because I can't quite give it the same as Sound of Music because Sound of Music is just like God level for me, and Mary Poppins just slightly under, but it's still perfect. 9.5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 9.5. I can't quite give it the same rating as The Sound of Music because that one not only checks all the boxes for me, but it was incredibly well done. Mary Poppins is also an amazing movie. It's got memorable tunes. It's got the scenes that will make you feel good and laugh along with it. But it's, I don't know what would have made it a little bit more like Sound of Music level for this, random rubric that I'm giving to these movies. But yeah, I can't.
I can't put my finger on what it is.
But it's close.
But it's not Sound of Music.
9.5. Watch it. Watch it again. Even if you've already seen it. Watch both of those.
Alright, we have finally come to the end of the movies. I'm going to have to edit this down because it's becoming a very long video. But we don't watch a lot of TV shows, so this will be easy. But we have been watching Mad Men, which I have never seen and Julio is rewatching. And we're not gonna give these ratings yet because, well, yeah, unless you want to rate the seasons, but
yeah, you can rate the seasons. I think so. Because
they blend together for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we're starting season 3.
I'm not going to give it a rating. I'm just going to tell you my thoughts of Mad Men. We're in the middle of season 3 right now. So Mad Men is interesting, and I'm definitely interested in what's going to happen with the characters. Don Draper, I think, is a really well-written character. He's got a lot of layers, and even knowing some things about Don Draper, you kind of can't tell what he's thinking a lot of the time, which I think is what makes him an interesting character. Like, he's a little bit unpredictable. He's a little bit hard to read, even from, like, the TV show perspective. Like, the people around him can't read him, and neither can you. And I think that's what makes Don Draper a really interesting main character. But it's just that everybody's got so many issues in this show, and everybody's a little bit detestable. And I struggle with shows like that sometimes because I feel like I can't root for anyone. I have a really hard time rooting for anyone. And I feel like I need someone to root for. But I don't know. I'm not gonna give it a rating yet because I'm very undecided on what I think about Mad Men, whether or not I like it. We'll see. There's like, what, 7 seasons?
I don't remember.
There's like a lot of seasons, so I don't know. I'm in it to complete it, so we'll see. And you've seen Mad Men before.
I have.
You might have more insight.
I wouldn't recommend watching a series that I didn't thoroughly enjoy watching from the beginning to the end. So just the fact that I recommended it and you're watching it, just know that it does end very well, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I think that what makes me really enjoy it, and especially seeing it again, the attention to detail. Oh man, like just
yeah, the costumes, the era.
So I've done some reading as well on the production value of Mad Men, and like just to know that in a single shot, the amount of research that would have to be done by the production to make sure that the model of the stove that was in the kitchen was something that would have been around in that year of 1960 or 1961. That's older.
That's some pretty crazy detail.
Yeah, I mean, attention to detail of their clothes is something, but attention to detail of what products would have been out and what wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. From the models of watches that they were wearing to the products that they were showing. I mean, all of it was incredible, and I think it adds to the value of watching the show. And I think also something else that you get from this is that there's a very clear depiction of what it looked like, but without the good old days. It's very good with showing you know what? Life wasn't as great as people want to make it out to be in the 60s or in the 50s or whatever era that, I mean, some of the Disney movies that we saw as well that we truly enjoy from those eras.
It makes you romanticize the era a little bit, and Mad Men really shows you, like, everybody had issues.
It sobers you up.
Everybody had problems every era.
You get to realize the racism that was rampant during the times, like how people interacted. Sexism as well. Gender inequality. I mean, all of this is brought to, like, right to the forefront of the show, and it does a really good job of presenting it.
Yeah,
so I appreciate Mad Men. It holds a high rating for me. I won't give you the rating until we'll give it together.
I feel like we need to finish the show.
But I do hold it in high regard.
And then this next one, only I've been watching it, and I'm watching it really slowly because I don't usually watch TV by myself. But for whatever reason, I started Anne with an E a month ago or so, and I'm still watching Anne with an E, but I'm watching it so slowly. I'm almost to the end of the 3rd season, And from what I understand, there are no more seasons, and there won't be any more seasons. I think they got canceled, sadly, but I really enjoy Anne with an E. It's not a straight retelling of Anne of Green Gables, but the characters are, I think, very true to the book, and like, you can definitely believe that they would react the way that they're reacting if you've read the books, but just know that the story goes in a totally different place. I don't always love where the story goes, but for the most part, I've found this show to be really well done. You just have to go into it with a mindset of like, this is not Anne of Green Gables, which I think is going to be hard for a lot of Anne of Green Gables fans. I know some people really don't like the show because of that, but I'm really enjoying it. It makes a lot of like deep statements too that transfer to modern times, which is kind of what it's trying to do. It makes a lot of statements about like race too, and gender roles, and what gender roles would have been like then. And so it kind of takes that like perfection of Anne of Green Gables and like the mindset that you have of, again, romanticizing that time, and it kind of breaks it down a little bit in a similar way that Mad Men does, actually, which I hadn't realized till right now. So maybe that's why I like that show too. It is kind of deconstructing the time period a little bit too. But I'm watching that, not done with it yet. We watched together, this one we'll rate because we finished it. We watched 100 Humans. This was very interesting, I thought. It was fun. Sometimes it had a little bit of a reality show spin to it that like annoys me a little bit sometimes when things seem a little bit fake. There was a little bit of that. But for the most part, it was basically a bunch of different social experiments. And you want to talk about it a little bit? I feel like I've been talking too long.
I think that with this show in particular, I'll wait to give you the rating until I give you my thoughts about it. 100 Humans is a show that you would watch if you're sitting down to have a snack or a meal, and you need something to accompany you.
Like something quick.
Put on 100 Humans. You're going to have a good time trying to guess the outcomes as well. And that's about it. Because beyond that, some of the scientific analysis to get the results were very biased. I didn't think that they were thorough or well done.
No.
So it's really just for entertainment value. As well, many of the topics that are presented, I have recently already done some of the study, so I knew what the outcomes would be because I'm currently in a teaching credential program. So I'm learning about
how people act.
About bias. I'm learning about education. I'm learning about pedagogy. I'm learning about how interaction works between different people. And so it was still fun. So I guess that would be a testament of, even though I knew the outcome of some of these experiments, I still enjoyed watching it. But I would not watch it again. I actually, outside of what I just mentioned, wouldn't recommend it as an interesting watch. It's just something to accompany you with a sip of coffee. So I would give it a 7.
A 7? I feel like that's pretty fair. I enjoyed watching it too, but there were definitely times when I was like, wait a second, that experiment is there's a lot of factors in that experiment that makes it not really accurate, you know? So it wasn't supposed to be like perfectly scientifically accurate, but it was definitely some of the experiments I thought were definitely more interesting than others, and some of them I thought held up a little better than some of the others. So I think some of the episodes you can actually get something interesting out of as far as like how people react to certain situations, and some of them you have to think like, well, also think of this is a reality show, and you know, maybe they're trying to get a certain result for the show. I don't know. But yeah, I would say 7 out of 10 is pretty good. It's definitely, it's like a bag of potato chips. It's not, doesn't have any like substance really, and
nope.
But it was a fun time. It was fun to watch. So yeah, 7 out of 10 is pretty good. So we also have some music to talk about because we are avid music listeners. So I will just briefly mention, because this video is getting way too long, but music that I listened to in the month of March, I didn't listen to a lot because I often listen on my drive to and from work, and I stopped going to work about halfway through March, so I actually didn't listen to a lot of music. But something that both of us have been listening to is the band Unprocessed. And do you want to tell us about Unprocessed?
Yeah, so Unprocessed came as a recommendation through one of my friends, and it was kind of, at least the video that was shown, I forget the name of the song, maybe we can put it up here in the video.
I'll put it up.
So this song was a cross between another band that we had both gotten into called Polyphia, which has some of that like in-between sort of sound of like not quite metal, but also just kind of like a rockish, not truly brutal sort of metal sound, but with maybe a bit heavier something that Polyphia that I really, when I heard Polyphia, it was such a unique sound. It was more like a Stevie Ray Vaughan sort of in between Stratocaster sort of sound, and I really wish that it was a little bit heavier, and Unprocessed was that. It had more of bands like Periphery, a little bit more like Animals as Leaders, so it had a lot more of the chug, and it had a lot more of the brutal vocals, which that was something else that Polyphia didn't have. It didn't have the vocals, so yeah, Unprocessed, check it out if you're into that kind of music, if you like Polyphia, because they're definitely a lot more popular. Check out Unprocessed.
The next artist I was listening to was India.Arie, which is actually another recommendation of this guy. He just apparently just tells me what to listen to, and I listen to it. But I had known about India.Arie before, and just hadn't like really sat down and listened to a full album of hers, and really enjoyed it. She's got a bit of like an R&B gospel sound to her, and it became because last month I was listening to a lot of Lauryn Hill, and then he was recommending that I listen to India.Arie. I also found just on Spotify, I don't think I'm going to pronounce this right, it's either Fatai or Fatai, and she's another gospel R&B style singer, and she has some tracks just that are really groovy and just, or they're very funky and they're good. So I would definitely recommend checking her out. And then I also listened to some violin music because I'm learning the violin, and I'm personally terrible at it right now, but I like to listen to people who are masters at it so that it will maybe inspire me to actually practice. Maybe someday I'll actually be good at it. And I've been listening to this album by Daniel Hope called Belle Epoque. I don't know how to say that word. But it's just a compilation of different composers, different violin pieces, and so I've really enjoyed that album. Do you have any other music that you've been listening to?
I've been listening to a few bands that I hadn't listened to in a while, like Dream Theater. I got to listen to Distance Over Time, which is their latest album. So I enjoyed listening to that. Also reconnecting to some Metallica albums that I hadn't heard in a really long time since I was in high school. I've also been listening to another band that I haven't listened to in maybe like a year or so. I was really into Lamb of God, so I've been listening to some of their latest albums. So listening to Lamb of God, listening to The Smiths, which I really was into my senior year in college, so yep, just catching up on all the Jim Morrissey, and listening to a few other classic rock bands like Journey and Boston.
Well, that is our non-bookish wrap-up for you. I haven't done one of these videos before, really, so let me know down below in the comments, do you like these videos? Do you want me to stay only a book channel? Because I can do that if you do not like these videos, but we had fun making it, so I hope you had fun watching it too. I post videos once or twice a week, so make sure you're subscribed so you can keep up with me and say hello to me in the comments. Keep reading great books and keep watching good movies and TV shows and music. I'm gonna have to come up with a better tagline at the end of this video. And thank you for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.